Welcome back to Heretic Owl Tarot. I'm so glad that you're joining me for these messages. It just brings me so much joy to read your cards. Speaking of, my calendar is now open for personal readings. The link for that is in the description below. Of course, anything you could ever want to know about this reading is going to be in the description below. And honestly, that's really all I have. I'm not even sure what decks we're going to be using yet. I just started getting that poking feeling last night to start putting out messages again. So that's what we're going to do. And this is probably the quickest intro I've ever done, but let's get into it. Great. So let's see who's next. All right. 1, 3. Let's do it. So usually I have a website or some sort of something kind of queued up to just give a quick blurb, on each profile. And for whatever reason, this time around, I don't. I realized that, and then I tried to find one, and I don't know, just nothing was really hitting the right spot. So that's okay. We'll just kind of do an overview. Maybe it's just not, important for these messages this time around. But that first line is the investigator line, meaning that your sense of security comes from knowledge and understanding. You might like researching things, really absorbing a plethora of different information, especially stuff that just really kind of sparks your interest, right? And there is a bit of insecurity that comes from that first line also, and that insecurity generally comes from a lack of knowledge. And then the third line is the martyr line, and that's all about trial and error. So, you have that first line investigator researching, really getting a firm foundation of knowledge, but then you need to put it in practice and see what happens. And that's where that trial and error process comes from. Because not only do you discover the way that something does work, but you discover a lot of the ways in which something doesn't. And that can really only be discovered by trying things. There's a lot of making and breaking bonds. So, bumping up against life and experiences and people, and also recognizing that some of those people or experiences come into your life for a reason or a season, or what's the third one? A lifetime? But practicing the art of detachment. And of course, breaking bonds can be as easy as separating yourself from a situation or a person for a brief period of time, or of course it can also be recognizing that a relationship, a job, an experience, the energy of that thing has run its course, and it is time to move on, break that bond. Is there anything else I want to say about that? At least not right now. And as you can tell, I've been shuffling. So we have the Everyday Witch Oracle deck. We have the Everyday Witch Tarot, both of which I got 4 days ago, 5. Whatever day I made that intro video, which was a few days ago, I went to a local metaphysical store that I've been meaning to go to for the last year or two. I think it opened maybe in 21. And just looking around, I wanted to get the regular size of the Everyday Witch Tarot. I have the pocket size of it, the smaller version. And then I noticed that they had an Oracle deck too. So I was like, perfect. You guys are going straight to camera. So We're just going to get one oracle card for the overall vibe for our investigator martyrs. I'm like, where do I put this? We have air magic. You can be an air sign. You don't have to be. That is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. But again, don't have to be. It's interesting because he's holding this quill, I think is what it's called, but not for the purpose of writing. So again, and air is about intellect, our minds, truth, honesty, our ego. He's burning incense there. So using something like a feather to manipulate an element, of course, the element of air. I'm definitely going to read from the book as soon as we get all the tarot cards out, because I'm curious, because they're even like kind of in this, it has this air of like contemplation. There's a bird here also, again, manipulating air in order to fly. We just need 6 tarot cards for our investigator martyrs. We have the 9 of Pentacles, the High Priestess, we have the 9 of Wands, the 7 of Wands, 10 of Wands, okay. One more. And the 7 of Cups. And the 2 of Swords at the bottom of the deck. That's so interesting because I feel like it might have been, it doesn't matter. For somebody else though, they had an element magic card, and then the only time that element showed up on the table was at the bottom of the deck. There's no other air cards out here except for at the bottom of the deck with the 2 of Swords. So I just find that interesting. Okay, I just had to move some things around. And like I said, I wanted to see what this air magic. Without air, there is no life. But unlike the earth element, which is solid and obvious, the element of air is more ephemeral and harder to visualize. You cannot, after all, hold a chunk of air in your hands the way you can hold a rock. So we often use something else to symbolize it, like a feather or incense. But that doesn't make it any less vital an element than earth, or any less powerful. As anyone who has ever lived through a hurricane will tell you, embrace the power of air with every breath and send your appreciation out on the breeze. And it says there is a simple way to connect with the magic of air, and you do it all the time, breathing. But instead of breathing without conscious effort, take a few moments to sit and really be aware of the air moving in and out of your lungs. Feel the power you draw in with every breath and the cleansing that carries away what you don't need as you exhale. If you want, visualize a breath coming in as one color, yellow, for instance, and the breath going out as another, gray, as it wafts away negativity. Be sure to say thank you to the element for its gifts. I keep getting this sense of like really taking stock of the progress that you've made, like where you have taken risks. And I get that just from the breathing element because, in meditation or yoga or, whatever, where you're trying to kind of quiet your mind, there's always this intention to focus on your breath. get it out of your mind, right? Like get your focus away from what's going on in your mind and focus on your breathing, because it is just something that we kind of take for granted, right? We just keep breathing. But also too, like when we allow ourselves to stop long enough and kind of change the focus from what we have been trying to do, or the actions that we're taking, because there's a lot of wands cards out here, lots of action happening, then it almost, it allows us to recognize where we are versus where we came from. Or even, that could be where we were a week ago. It could be a year ago. It could be a couple years. So anyway, okay, let's just start from the beginning. We have the Nine of Pentacles here, which is an awesome start. The Nine of Pentacles is financial independence. And with this card specifically, we can see that they are chilling. There's a contentment to this. Pentacles have to do with our money, our physical body, our home, resources, materials. It's anything in the 3D, tangible or monetary. Their tree is blossoming with fruit and pentacles. They're enjoying the fruits of their labor here, kicking back, reading a book. There's, just being in a place where it's like something is taking care of itself without a lot of effort from you. That could be a business. It could be your job. It could be your health, right? There would be some sort of visible improvement, but also to the point where you would feel this type of contentment and relaxation. And with it paired with the Seven of Wands, like this is something that, and if this hasn't happened yet, it's clearly possible. It could even be the intention that you have. If you've started something new recently, this could be, like the motivation behind a new job, a promotion, lifestyle. And the Seven of Wands would say to, stick with it. If this is a place where you're at now or coming up to or recognizing, then the Seven of Wands is saying that you have put in the hard work. You have really stuck to your guns on it, because the Seven of Wands is defensive. They stand their ground. I always see the Seven of Wands as, these six wands out here being other people's projections, their fears, their opinions, their reasons why not to. If somebody is jealous of your success, that would be one of those wands. And, this person is backed up on a cliff, but still defending themselves. So it's like, you have this vision and not letting anybody else chip away at what's possible for you. This could also be saying, again, and it would depend on your situation. I'm just going to say all the things that come to me, that drop into my consciousness. But if you have started off on a journey of getting to this place, then this would be saying, don't let anybody kind of throw you off track. And then we have the High Priestess, and with it being in the middle of the spread here, it feels like fate or has like a destiny type of feel to it. The High Priestess, I see the High Priestess as being our direct connection to our higher self, our star player. So, it's intuition, it's higher knowing. And I love how in this deck, they're doing a tarot reading. So, this could be, you could be starting a spiritual path to a certain degree. This could have something to do with divination or metaphysics. It doesn't have to. I'm just throwing that out there. But there is also this this feeling of trust and surrender which isn't necessarily like always the high priestess vibe, but it is very much like there's something in you that just knows. And that's probably where the Seven of Wands is even coming from. You may not even know how you know, but whatever this Nine of Pentacles is, there's something that's clicked there. Or it will be clicking, which is really all that matters. All of this stuff in the Seven of Wands is just noise, and it's other people's insecurities, jealousy, envy, blah blah blah, all of those things that it's like wishing that they could be you, but since they can't, they're just going to try to bring you down a peg. And yeah, we don't, on this channel, we don't even entertain that shit from anybody. We can understand it, we can have compassion for it, but we certainly don't have to deal with it, no matter where it's coming from. Family, friends, no, absolutely not. And the Ten of Wands here, this talks about burden, overwhelm. There could be a major kind of learning curve, and especially with it being next to the Seven of Wands. Now, I don't even know if I've even explained, but like wands are motivation. It's creativity, it's passion, desire. It's the actions that we take, the information that we're receiving or giving. It's fire energy, right? So all of the things that come along with fire. And when we get to the Ten of Wands, there is an element of completion because it's a 10. And I see the Ten of Wands as being those life experiences that we pick up along the way on our journey from the Ace to the 10. And that's, very much like a 1-3 vibe, because, you research things, you go out and try them, you discover if they're for you or not. And along the way, along those journeys, you've picked up a lot of information. It could feel like a burden. It could feel like an inconvenience, because they're also walking uphill here, but they're doing it. This could even be all of the things that you have tried previously. This could also be, I'm getting this feeling of not quitting before it gets easy. Because I think too, and I'm one of these people too, that, if it doesn't kind of unfold completely quickly, then it's almost kind of like, screw it. But no. I'm just kind of curious what's behind. Yeah. Because it seems like there's this good stuff, but then there's what you're attaching to the journey. It's like, you want to skip the journey part and get to the destination without having to go through any of the life stuff, any of the journey stuff, any of the, because it's not going to be just a flat, like walk through a park. There is going to be times where it feels like an uphill battle. And if it's something that you believe in, if it's something that has this kind of connection to your being in some capacity, don't give it up. It's like keep going until, and especially because we have the Nine of Wands here, which is the Wounded Warrior, and that's literally the card that says don't give up. I know at the beginning I did say practice the art of detachment, right? And recognizing when it's time to break a bond. And again, right, this is kind of where your strategy and authority would come into play, because your strategy and authority is going to help you enter into the correct experiences. And then your profile is how you navigate those experiences. I love that we, the only two air cards that we have are at the beginning and the end. because this in here tells me it's based on, so that we have this practical, monetary, tangible thing at the beginning. We have two water cards, which is our emotions. How do we feel about a thing? And then we have three wands cards, which are the actions that we're taking, what we're like actually doing in the physical realm. What are we trying? So again, with the 9 of wands, it's recognizing that it has been a process. You have been here, or you will be. And maybe you have thought about, giving up and moving on, because whatever, it's too hard. It's not going the way that your ego wanted it to go. But also like checking in with, how are you feeling about the thing though? Do you still have a connection to it? Is it something that you still want to continue to do and continue to try? Because if you do allow yourself to continue to try, which, of course, everybody has free will. Do what you think is best for yourself. But I think you should keep trying, because there are options here. There will be options that open up here. This could even be focusing on the possibilities. Not necessarily like getting lost in possibility or daydreaming or imagination or whatever, but to a certain extent, yeah. Like I said with this, there's this element of trust and surrender that I was getting with the High Priestess. And through this whole process, it's like it opens doors in some capacity. And with it being emotions, it helps you also determine like, what are the things through this process, what have you discovered that you like and that you don't like? What makes you feel good and what doesn't make you feel good? But it's like these possibilities wouldn't even present themselves or even really exist if you didn't go through this process, or you didn't give it a real try. And even when you're like, I feel like I'm at the point where I have given it a real try. Just try again. If that's accessible to you, try it again. And maybe it is just a matter of taking a couple days or what have you to focus on your breath and take a breather. There's nothing wrong, because that's what the 9 of Wands is. The 9 of Wands is like I said, it's the wounded warrior, but it's resting, not giving up, but just resting. Knowing that the battle is not completely over. It is with the 10, but allowing yourself a breather, maybe like recentering yourself with meditation, asking for guidance. That could be the High Priestess, also really connecting in with your star player. And of course, for me, that's my higher self, but it could be God, it could be the divine, it could be source. If you connect to a higher power, if you don't connect to a higher power, then that would be your own intuition, because regardless, we all have our own intuition, our own gut feeling. And like what is true for you, regardless of higher power or not. And then we have the 2 of Swords, which talks about indecision. Literally, they're blindfolded and literally throwing, darts at a board here. But they got one. So it's like, even if you can't see the way forward mentally, though, because swords have to do with our mind, it's still like you're heading in the right direction. Even if, like ego-wise, your mind is like, this is no. But your ego, our egos are created by the stories that we attach to experiences, which is why most times we don't want to let our ego guide our decisions, because that's going to be based on some old shit that is no longer true or all the way true. And it's not even the same situation or variables. Like, something's different. But again, they might be blindfolded, but they hit the bullseye. We have the Nine of Swords behind there. So that's what is just so interesting to me, that we start with an air, and the only air cards that are under or that are out here are at the bottom of the deck. The Nine of Swords talks about anxiety, fear. There's all these books around them too, so it could just be feeling like you're just not picking something up as quickly as you think. But also recognizing too that this might just not be the best way for you to learn by reading books. Like, you might need to like watch videos so you can hear it through your ears instead of taking it in through your eyes. It could be, finding a mentor. But this is like that sense of failure. But also, again, with a nine, we have 3 nines out here so far. This could even just be that you don't see this. It's like, for whatever reason, not recognizing that you've hit a bullseye, even blindfolded. I'm actually kind of curious I'm so excited to have this book too. I love having books of tarot, because I have a first line in my profile too. I'm a 5-1. So just learning other people's like perspectives and their understanding of everything, I absolutely love. Okay, so this says, who hasn't had a night like this one? This witch is overwhelmed with sadness, and although there's no way for us to tell exactly what she's been obsessing over, whatever it is has clearly been weighing heavily on her mind and heart. In her head, everything seems hopeless. And yet, if she would only stop crying for a moment and look up, she would see that she would see that it is a dawn of a brand new day. Anything is possible. She is not as alone as she feels. This could even be doing something that either hasn't really been done by anybody else or isn't widely accepted by other people, or something along those lines, because there is this kind of lonely feel to it. And maybe that's part of what is the problem with the Nine of Swords. They're actually being comforted by this little cat here, and I love that. Because, if there is this sense of, something is just really clicking for you, really feels like, you're meant to do it, you're meant to be there, you're meant to, whatever the case may be. And if it isn't widely accepted, just right out the gate, right? I mean, you might have the 7 of Wands energy with other people projecting stuff, feeling, a burden or feeling like a burden, having to, kind of feeling beat up. Not physically, no, none of that. But just feeling like, you've been through the ringer. Also, just holding on to these possibilities here. And then we have the 2 of Swords and the 9 of Swords behind here. The 9 is still like an individual completion though. And I love that we have the 6 of Wands right behind that, because this is victory. This is coming out of a battle victorious. Again, with the Wands cards also. We have this figure here, all these people clapping. I mean, just being even an inspiration to other people, whether you want to be or not. But also not even allowing that to be like your focus. I mean, it can certainly be your motivation. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's like younger generations kind of seeing like, hey, like that's possible, or that could be possible for me too. We have the Wheel of Fortune, which is, again, speaking of all these options, which are pretty close, because there's a house, there's a heart, coins, a book, star. So really, like seeing your fortune change. The Tower is about systems crumbling And even look at their body language. Being proud, right? Like they're not in an energy of, feeling chaotic or sad or whatever. Like they are probably the ones that took this tower down. So again, there's definitely this energy here about being part of something larger than yourself, which can be scary. And the only thing that I can really say is continue to move forward. Take your breaks when you need to. Connect to your why. Why am I doing this? Remember, the possibilities that are going to open up for you. And literally, it's like just putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, one decision at a time. And that's exactly why this air magic card comes out, because, if you do get too far in your head, then it's, bring yourself back to your breath and just breathe. Like, what's her name says in Ever After, when she goes to that masquerade, just as with the fairy, with the wings. Have you seen that movie? I love that. It's like one of my top 5. I effing love that movie. But she gets up there, and she says, just breathe. So just breathe. And I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. Bye.